Hello Predator fans, this is Solid Dave Snake bringing you my first NECA action figure review, and I figure what better place to start than with their most popular line, which is the Predator line, and why not start where it all began, with the Jungle Hunter Predator from the first movie. And this Predator is from Series 7 of the Predator line, and this is where I kind of started collecting these figures. This is around the time NECA really started upping the ante on their action figures. Before this, they weren't as good, but they really started upping the ante, like I said, on their sculpts and paint jobs and definitely articulation. And now they rival top toy companies like McFarlane and Hasbro, I believe. So they are one of my most favorite toy companies now, and without further ado, we'll just jump right into the Jungle Hunter Predator. And getting him up close, he represents a perfect likeness to the Predator from the first movie. Give you a little 360, but he just has detail galore, and we'll kind of go over him head to toe. And right off the bat, give you a close-up of his mask. It is very sleek and represents the mask on the Predator from the first movie perfectly. He's got little red lasers that you see as the target system in the movie, right here above his right eye. On the back of his head, you can see all the dreadlocks, and they are all individually done in there, which I think is just incredible. It's a lot of detail for an action figure, for each one of those dreads to be individually put on there. And kind of the one accessory he has is his plasma caster from the movie. That cannon that he uses. And it is actually removable, and you can actually move his canister around, his blaster here, from right to left. It's on a little ball joint, and move it up and down as well. It's on a little hinge. So that is actually articulated, which I thought was really, really neat. And how you pop this off, it's plugged in up here, and it's hooked in under his back there, and you can just pull it right off. I'll give you a little more detailed look at it. And it's got some nice brown wash parts of it. Actually looks burnt on the end of the cannon where it fires out. So great attention to detail on this accessory. And then you will have the Predator. This is how he looked after he lost the cannon in the movie. And he stands up pretty tall as well. I had him squatted down there in that starting pose. But he stands about 8 inches tall. He's a little taller than the human figures, like the Dutch Schaefer in this line, which he should be. But continuing on to his detail, we will take a look at this necklace right under his head, which is made out of the little bone pieces. And you could take that off if you really wanted. It's on a string. And same thing with the little bones that are hung down around his body. So just little things like that add a nice touch to these figures. And the Predator is kind of like a reptilian being, so he's got this kind of greenish looking brown skin everywhere with the mesh he had in the movie, that heat mesh. which is not actually string. All that's sculpted in there. And he's got those shoulder pads and little wires coming down to the computer on his wrist that he detonates at the end of the movie, which does not come off. It looks like it does. That would have been a nice feature, but it doesn't. And on his other wrist, you have the wrist blade, which I have extended right now, and you can actually push it back in, which is a really neat feature. And as you can see, one of his fists is closed and the other open. So that's pretty nice. And his little tunic down here is of a softer plastic as well. It's real pliable. Real pliable all the way around. And the detail continues down to his legs with that reptilian skin and the mesh. And then the futuristic armor down on his calves, down to his ankles. And even nice detail on his feet. Get a focus in here. And he actually has peg holes at the bottom. And articulation wise, this Predator really shines. He's got a ton. Like I said, NECA's really been doing well with articulation in their figures. And he will rotate all the way around at the head, but I'm not going to twist them all the way around because I don't want to damage any of those dreads. And we'll look that far up and that far down. And you can get some tilt out of it too. Get that confused look or curious look. So it's on a ball joint. So it'll get a lot of movement. And his shoulders, both shoulders are on a ball joint and hinge, but you can't get that far up because of the armor, especially on this left-hand side. But you can get it to rotate all the way around. And on both elbows, he's got a ball joint and a hinge as well, which you can get completely straight and bent back up to there and complete rotation. And the wrists are on a ball joint, so you can get some up movement out of it and some downward movement and rotate it all the way around. A little easier to show on this hand because this hand's a little restricted from that wrist blade going back. And he has no ab crunch, but he does have a waist swivel, which you could get all the way around. And something that they upped on articulation with this figure, because like I said, this is the 7th wave for these Predator figures, and they had this figure in the very first line, but his hips were different. They were just cuts. This one has ball joints, which you can get a lot more movement out of. You can get it kicked out, and you can actually get it all the way up and all the way back. So you get a lot more movement out of this figure than his original counterpart in that first series. And at the knees, he is single jointed. And he has no twist, just that single joint. Or I'm sorry, he's got double jointed knees. My bad. Yeah, he's got double jointed knees, so you can get it real far back, but there's no twist to it. And at the feet, he has a ball joint as well, which you can get rotated all the way around and just a little bit up and back. So overall, this is, I would say, the ultimate Predator figure, especially based off that first movie, unless you're getting into the Hot Toys for a smaller scale action figure. This is definitely my most favorite Predator that they've ever made, and we've been getting Predator figures for a while, from Kenner to McFarlane and now NECA. So if you're a Predator fan, I highly recommend this line. They've been doing a lot with it, and I really enjoy it, and I think if you're a Predator fan, you will too. So stay tuned, guys. I will do the Arnold Schwarzenegger character Dutch Schaefer from this line next. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.